Hey, welcome back to Real Fishing and Shooting with Gunner, all you YouTubers. I've been asked again to show a better video, or try to show a better video of the Dillon case feeder in action. Not so much dropping the case in here in the channel, but more of the operation inside on the tool head and the shell plate. What I'm running into is still no cameraman. So trying to get everything set up here and make it a good video is getting hard to do. I can't work the press and hold the camera. If I put the camera over here on this, you're not going to see, because of this stamped metal here that actually rides on, is going to block it. So basically the best thing I can do is put it there and have it catch what it does. Now I'm going to try to keep my left arm as much as I can out of the picture, but I have to obviously install the bullets. So let me get at this and we'll see what happens. Let me turn the case feeder on. Shut the switch off. Now, let me explain something here. If you're going to get into reloading, please, if you can, and I don't know your money situation, nor do I want to know it, but if at all possible, get a progressive press from the very beginning. Don't get a single stage unless that's absolutely the only thing you can afford. The reason being is when you get, well, let me step back. There used to be an old thinking pattern, a thought system that was, well, when you're learning how to reload, especially brass, start with a single stage and learn every step. Well, the problem is you're handling the brass 4 times more than you need to. With this, you'll see I really don't touch the brass at all, other than just to put the bullet in it. Now, let me put the bin over here that catches the finished rounds. When you do a single stage, what happens is you will take your, I'll use this for example, you'll take your one piece of brass, you put it in, you'll put it in the press. I'm just going to set it right here. Then you'll lift the press up and it will resize it and decap it. And decap actually means remove the primer. And then when you bring it back, you're done with it. Some of them will have a single stage primer feeder in the system built into the ram. So what you'll bring it up, you'll resize it, decap it, and just like this one, you push it forward and it will set your new primer. Other ones, you'll have to put it in by hand with a hand priming tool. So when you're done with that, you take it out. And now you grab the next round and put in there and you do the same thing. So whether you're doing 5 rounds or 500, you've already touched the brass twice, in and out. So now that you got that done, you put each piece of brass back in, and now you'll lift it up again and you'll bell out the case mouth to accept the bullet. So now you put it in, lift the ram, you bell it out, you take it back out. So that's 4 times you touch the same piece of brass. You'll do that to all 5 or 500 or however many you have. Then you go right back to the first one again and you insert it back in this time. This is after you put the powder in it. So now you put it back in, you set the bullet in it, you bring it up, and seat it and crimp it. So you've now touched each piece of brass, well, let's see, twice to install and decap, twice to install and bell the case mouth and take it back out, twice to pick it up, put the prime or powder in it and set it back down. So now you're 8 times with one piece of brass, 8 times you're handling it. So it takes a long time to single stage. Yes, you do learn every step, but what happens is with 8 times of handling each case, that's 8 times more you can have a possible problem with the press. Or not with the press, but you may miss putting powder in it, or you may double charge it. Just when you start handling it that many times, you're 8. Well, we just figured out you're 8 times more chances to make a mistake. So what I would suggest is save up your money and buy. This is a progressive press, but it's known as a manual indexing progressive. What I actually have to do is turn the shell plate around every time. I don't have to touch the brass, but I do have to turn the shell plate, which isn't a problem because the way this is designed is it'll come in here, this first station. Let me grab some sort of pointer here. It'll come in down this tube in here, which will size it and deprime it, and then I'll flip it over. It comes to this station right here, which in turn bells out the case and drops powder in it. Then I'll grab the bullet, shove it over, put the bullet in it, and press it again. And then turn it, and it does the final crimp, and it just keeps going around. So this, just with adding a case feeder, more than doubles your speed. And it's, like I said, it's progressive because they're all on, there's actual 4 stations here, but I still have to manually index it. Now they have auto indexing presses. Dillon makes this is the RL550B, and this is the manual indexing. There's an RL or a 650 Dillon that automatically does. So in other words, with each pull of the handle, it will do everything you need plus rotate the shell plate. Hornaday makes the lock and load AP, which is auto progressive. RCBS makes the Pro 2000, same way. You can manually index it, or you can buy a different ram head, and it has a piece of cut steel, sort of like this right here, what you can see of it, that mounts on this side, like in an L shape on the RCBS over here. And when each pull the handle, there's a weighted rod that comes out of the tool head that guides on there, which will auto index it for you. So I'm going to show you how this one goes. So right there we just resized it and took the old primer out. Old primer just fell, shove it forward, new primer is installed. Also, when I shove it forward, it runs this ram back here that pushes the new case in. So now I turn it, go ahead and grab my bullet. Now I've installed another piece of brass, set the primer. Now if you can see it, it belled out the case mouth and dropped the powder. So now here's where I'll index it, put the bullet in it. Pull another one. So now I set the bullet is seated. Now I'm going to put the finishing crimp on it. This one is now over, just got the new primer. Now it's ready to get belled and get powder. This one has the powder, belled, I put the bullet in it. Now we're going to put the seat in it. So as you can see, this works flawlessly. And what I do like about Dillon, their case feeder design, like I said in the earlier video, once you get down in here where the case slides out, it's not a flat surface, it's actually channeled, and the casing rides in the channel. So you don't have to worry about it falling off or falling to the side. I'm also, now every time I do this, you hear them falling into the bin. That's a completed round. Now, as fast as you can pick up the bullet and do the indexing here is as fast as you can go. If you want to really go super fast, you can do it faster, but I keep it at a steady pace, and that's how I get about right to my regular pace, is right there. And that's a good working pace. I'm getting a lot of rounds done quick. And now the actual holder, the case holder that coming from the case feeder is empty. So now we're just going to finish off these two. Okay, so now it's crimped. That one's seated. Flip it over, hit it. It's now crimped and ready to go. Now, if you look down here, just in that short amount of time, how many we did. You gotta really, really appreciate what a progressive press will do for you. What I'm loading here is, this is 40 Smith & Wesson Winchester primers. I'm using Rainier Ballistics, who is my pistol bullet sponsor, and I love their products. And what I'm using is a 165 grain flat point. This is not a semi-wad cutter, or not a wad cutter, it's just a flat point. They load great, they shoot great. Never had a feed issue in any of my 40 calibers, and accuracy is great with these. So again, I'm using Winchester primers. The brass is mixed. Most of this is Winchester, but there is some other brass in here. Spear, I think, is a couple, and Herders. And then the Rainier Ballistic flat point bullet, 155 grain. And then for powder, I am using Winchester Auto Comp ball powder. Winchester powder, as you know, is owned by Hodgdon. And Hodgdon, IMR, and Winchester, all three are actually Hodgdon owned, and I've been sponsored by Hodgdon now since late 2004 with Chris Hodgdon, and I've used their powder exclusively ever since in one of the three, either Hodgdon brand, Auto Comp, Winchesters, multiple types of Winchester powder. Then if you look over here, I don't know if you can see it. No, you can't. Over here is IMR PB, which is what I use for the 45 ACPs when I load those. And I have IMR 8208 XBR, which I use that, and Varget, and the new CFE 223 powders for 223. So, but I just want to show you this video on here, and I'll work it again so you can see how this operates. That ram actually comes out. It's activated by this stamped metal plate, and it's on a roller system, so I don't know if you can see how easy it moves. And it's actually on a it's got a sealed roller bearing on it that rides up, and it's not just a piece of steel. It's actually a real nice bearing that rotates. It rolls, it doesn't just slide. And excuse me, as you can see, it works perfect. Everything on this, you need to, I want to go into maintaining your press also. Any press, even single stage, you need to keep it maintained, just like your car, anything mechanical. Twice a year, I will come down here to the grease zerks and shoot some grease into the bottom connecting rod here for the handle. I can't, with the camera mounted on the tripod, you can't see it. But twice a year I do that, and there is a relief hole cut in the top of the handle connector, and grease will come out of it, so you know you got enough in there. Keep your shell plate clean. Use canned air or an air compressor or at least a brush. Keep all that clean. Everything in. I mean, you hear. I don't know if you can't hear anything. I mean, that works. There's no grind or nothing. It just when it locks into place. Nice and smooth. No gripping, no stopping or any type of grinding at all. So you keep that clean, and after every reloading session, I mean, and when I talk about a reloading session, we're talking I could probably load 1,000 of these, and then I'll, it might be a week or two and I'll do 1,000 more. So in between that, before I start the second 1,000 or whatever the amount would be, I actually take this Allen bolt off, take the star wheel off, take the plate out, clean out from underneath there, make sure it's all clean, clean out underneath this, have all that ready to go, nice and smooth. I'll wipe down the ram and and actually this, even though this is called Blue Lube, as you can see here, this has nothing to do with Dillon, even though the Dillon press is blue. This is actually made by another sponsor of mine, Benchmade Knives, and it's a lubricant to use on their knives. Well, any oil is great, and this is a very refined oil, and it's even blue, but I mean the blue has nothing to do with it. But after I clean the ram, clean down around here, and what I'll do is come down here, I'll get a brush or a can of air or air compressor, whatever it may be, and I make sure I get down in here, get all this, get down around here where the primer system runs in. That's a big area that gets dirty because you're taking out the old primer and installing the new, so you always have, that's usually the most dirtiest spot around this ram. And occasionally, I don't know if you can see the flipper right there, yeah, occasionally a primer falls down. When it comes down, it's that, opens up, and it drops your primers into this primer catch, which is mounted right here. Occasionally, for whatever reason, one primer may come out, it'll come out of here, and just for some reason it hits and it'll sit down in this area, and you'll know it when you go to seat your new primer. When you bring it down, it won't be that nice motion. It'll grab or it'll crack or jerk. Something happens that you know it's not right. Never force anything on any press, even single stage. Stop, check, find out what the solution, because if you have to force it, something's wrong somewhere. Even though all these presses over here, you really can't even see it. I hate not having a cameraman. This is a Hornady 366 12 gauge. Right here is an MEC 12 gauge GN 9000 GN. Behind me are two RCBSs. One's the old Rock Chucker. One is the Pro 2000. And then there is a Hornady lock and load AP behind me, also with the bullet feeder and case feeder. So no matter what the press, and over here, well, I got over here on my right is a single stage Hornady lock and load. And I just use it for when I'm just doing a few little rounds. If I want to do 25 rounds of certain caliber, I'll put it over there. But no matter what it is, you have to maintain it. Oil, grease, whatever. But let me tell you this, you don't want to come in here and just coat everything with oil and slather everything with grease, because oil and grease collect dust, dirt, and grime. So I'll go through with a towel, clean all this out. Like I said, get it all clean. I'll show you all the oil I put on here. I'll come through here and I'll make sure that I got the ram clean. Wipe it all down. You even got to get into here. And this is actually the part that really gets it. Like I said, it's always in this section because of removing the old primer. So you get all this wiped down, all the way around the base, everything. Now there is a black plate that this primer system rides on. Once a month, I'll remove this primer system and this black plate and clean out from underneath it. Okay, so now that I got all that wiped down, bring it up. I'll show you just how much oil I use, and sometimes less is more, and in this situation that's it. You just run a little bead across like that, and then come over here and just do the same thing. And that's not much oil at all, but it doesn't take much. Run it down a couple times, and it's so much smoother already. And then do the same thing on the bottom, because there's about 4 inches of the ram that sticks out of the bottom. So wipe it all down, because it obviously doesn't come up that far. Wipe it all down just like you did up there, and put just a little quick bead of oil around it, and work it in. So now you get the top and bottom oil. Everything's ready to go. Right here, let's see if I can get this. Alright, now I want you to see how this activates. This is your powder drop. Now it's case activated completely. You have to have a case in it to shove it up to work the powder, but you'll see a basic idea how this works. That comes up. So what I'll do is when it's up in the air like that, I'll lift it up just a tad and just 1 drop of oil and work it in there. Work it in there and work it on that seam. Just work it a little bit like that. Then I'll take it and wipe off any excess in the outside, because you don't want any type of fluid around your powder or primer. Sorry, it's about 3 in the morning when I'm doing this video, so just to make sure that works properly. You know, you don't want that jamming. So that's good. I will come over here also, and on this sealed bearing, I'll put just a little drop on top of it for the case feeder itself, and then when it runs around the steel, puts a little bit right there. There's a section here that you can put a drop in on this back side. It doesn't take much. I mean, I'm talking just a little drop. Turn it over. And that's pretty much it as far as oil and grease go. You don't want a lot, because you'll end up in trouble with it collecting on everything. So that's something you want to make sure enough to make it work properly, and that's it. Now, one other thing, let's see if I can get that. Again, sorry for the no cameraman. This is when you buy the basic, this is the RL 550B. When you buy the basic press, you don't get this bullet tray, you don't get this handle. You'll get a straight handle with a black, looks like an 8-ball knob on it. I strongly suggest upgrading to this aluminum roller handle. Reason being, maybe you can see the 366 now. Okay. Yeah, well, you see that handle ball right there? That's obviously not the shiny. The Dillon one's almost just like this, but it doesn't give. It doesn't move. It's just there. This, your hand stays still and rolls. The handle rolls within this, so it makes it a lot more or less fatigue on the user, and the more comfortable you are, the longer you're going to be able to reload. So I've never ever put oil in there. I just make sure it's blown out with the canned air, or if I run the airline in here, I use that. So that's basically what you want to do. In all presses, on a single stage, there's really that much not. Well, no, there's not that much to concern yourself with. Same thing with the ram. Bring it up, clean it, put a little dab of oil on it, and then see if I can grab it here. On the Hornady and also the RCBS, your primer system for that is this little lever. It sits on a pin like this, and then when you run the press down, that hits, bring it straight in, the ram comes down, and that in fact will shove your primer up into the brass. All you do there is, the only spot of oil that you should ever have on this. You wipe it down, wipe the grease and grime off of it, and then just take your oil and just put one little dab right there where the pin would ride. That's all it takes. And then you put it right back in the press, in the ram, and it's ready to go. So, but anyhow, this was a video on how to maintain the press, and a couple people wanted to see the how the case feeder system worked. So again, forgive me for my voice, forgive me for no cameraman. I'm working on that. Also, within the next couple days, you're going to see one on sonic cleaning and how I dry the brass from sonic cleaning, so where the brass looks like this. A lot of people comment that my brass looks almost like new, unused. I mean, because it's literally, let's grab it right there. Let's see. I'll figure out a way I can show you this. That's the outside, but the inside is even, can't tell. Dang it. The inside is just as shiny as the outside. And I will tell you, anybody that reloads brass that's that clean is such a world of difference from tumble brass when it hits the press. You feel the difference. It just like a hot knife through butter. But a lot of people are afraid to use sonic cleaners because they're not sure they're going to get all the water out or the cleaning agent out, and you put powder in it and it's wet, and you obviously know it's not going to work. So a lot of people were turned off from sonic cleaners for that reason, or they're trying to figure out another way. I had a guy who on the kitchen sink had a rack that, I don't know what kind it was, but it looked like AstroTurf, sort of. And he would take his brass, sonic clean it, and then turn it upside down on each one of those blades, and he'd have 1,000 of them right there. It took forever for him to do it and forever for it to dry. Then I've heard of people, they'll dump it on a cookie tray, they'll take out a sonic cleaner, shake them in the basket a little bit, and then put them in a cookie, or on a fill cookie tray up, and put it in the oven for 150 degrees for a couple hours to dry it out that way. That's nonsense. I have a way to do it, and within 10 minutes it's done, and 15 minutes you can start loading it. I'm going to do a video on that next couple days. I have a video to do on MEC, M-E-C, the GN 9000 or 9000 GN. I've had a request to show the lock and load work as the ammo plant. Now, my Hornady setup was not packaged as the ammo plant like you can buy them now. It actually started out as just the press, then the case feeder was added, and then the bullet feeder. So basically now you can buy it as an assembled system. They call it the ammo plant or ammo factory. It's great. I wish the 550 had a bullet feeder system. It's great to be able to just pull the handle, and then after, well, on the Hornady, after the 5th pull, every pull after that drops a finished round into your bin. You don't have to touch the brass, you don't have to touch the bullet. Just pull the handle. To each his own. I like this. I like doing it this way. I load exclusively 40 Smith & Wesson on this press. I've worked quite some time to get it dialed in right, with different powders and different adjustments and everything, to where I put it on the chronograph and got what I wanted and got the accuracy I wanted. It's all within, unbelievable. So I don't mess with it, and I have not had to touch the die or any adjustments on this press now for 2 years. It's been set, it's been run, I've never touched nothing. I just keep the primers full, keep the powder full, and keep dumping cases in the case feeder, and then just start loading until I run out, then refill it and do it again. The lock and load, I load multiple calibers on it. The 2000, Pro 2000 RCBS, I load 44 Magnum, 357 Magnum, and 327 Magnum on it. The single stage presses, this one, the lock and load single stage and the old rock chucker, are different calibers, different times. I just have a little bit of everything going on here. Oh, I also talked in the last video about the Ram Pro. Here it is, well, almost together, ready to use. This system is, I love this. My next reload session for bullets, or I mean for 223, I'll be using Berger 223 bullets, well, 22 caliber bullets for that, and I'll be loading the 52 grain flat base target bullets, and we'll be using the Ram Pro as far as checking everything, because that does more than just check the concentricity. It checks everything you could possibly want to check. So that video is coming up on the Ram Pro. I have a video on the 366. This isn't mounted. It's only got 2 out of 4 bolts just sitting here for right now. So I want to thank Rainier Ballistics and Shane at Rainier. Been sponsored by Rainier now for over 2 years, and love them to death. Use them on every pistol that I fire, in competition, in our training classes, in our tactical classes, you name it. If it comes out of my pistol, it's a Rainier ballistic. I don't even buy new ammo anymore. Our rifle rounds are Berger bullets, come out of that. Winchester primers do everything. I do have a few boxes of oddball primers that I'm weeding out. Winchester does everything else. Again, I'd like to thank Chris Hodgdon, IMR, and Winchester powders. That's the only powders we use. So, man, my voice is getting shot. So I want to thank you for stopping by, and within the next 7 days there should be anywhere up to 5 videos coming. So thanks for stopping by, and leave your comments whether you like or dislike, and let me know so we can make it, adjust it from there, and hopefully I got a cameraman soon. Later.